Hi, my name is Alvin Ainsworth. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of APTV. Today I got Simon O'Regan from Earl Canteen and also Dame, a new cafe that's open in front of Collins Place. Simon has created Earl in 2009 with his wife, who he's still married to.
Still.
Yeah, right. And they have a very successful business and working relationship. And we're going to talk about what it's like to work with your spouse and how you run a business and a family and a home. And you have children?
Yes, 2 children.
Right. And you live in the same home, you and your wife. You don't have separate homes.
Yeah, no, still in the, yeah.
Do you share an office?
My office is my work.
Do you share cars?
I've got a scooter.
Right, okay. So they share cars too. That's like the world's perfect couple. Hope you enjoy this interview and get a lot out of it. Thank you. Simon, in 2009, you and your wife, Jackie, quit your jobs. You were working at restaurants and she was working catering. And then what happened?
We sold our apartment. We took what equity we had and we took a lease on an empty space at 500 Burke Street.
Where'd you live?
We moved into City Road and lived in an apartment, but that was
In South Bank?
900 metres from work.
So you sold your apartment, took all your equity, invested into a sandwich shop in the city that you created from scratch.
Yeah, we just went all in.
And no backup plan.
Well, the backup plan was we start from scratch again if it doesn't work, but that never came into our head. Oh, it was always going to work. It was just how hard we had to work to make it work.
And you went into 500 Burke Street, an ISPT building.
Correct.
How'd you convince a major landlord like ISPT to give you a go?
Oh, we were pretty...
With no business
No,
experience.
I mean, we had a really good business plan.
Yeah.
We sat in a boardroom and actually had a conversation with all the decision makers. Jackie had spoken with some business people about that space previously, so we'd had a rough understanding of what they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But look, at the end of the day, we were all in. I mean, you wouldn't find a more experienced first business, group, if you like. I mean, we're 20 years of hospitality each. If that was enough to give you a go, then what is?
How old were you at the time?
Early 30s.
It's a pretty cool story that most people don't have the courage to do.
Yeah. Look, for us, you want to think about your future down the track and all the flexibility to do things, take holidays, have a family. That's tricky when you're finishing work at 2 in the morning. So, the daytime cafe, and this was at a time too when lots of sort of restaurant people were branching out into cafes. I mean, the idea of the trendy Melbourne breakfast, that was sort of just starting to happen, and we were the right place at the right time, I think.
What's the biggest mistake you made back then?
But I'm still making them now.
The biggest one you made in 2009?
We probably didn't realise that running a quick service business was so vastly different from a restaurant.
Right.
So we had to adapt.
And the biggest lesson?
Adapt quickly when something's not working. Find out what that is, identify it, don't fight it, move on.
So the concept was a restaurant-style sandwich bar?
It was a fancy sandwich bar.
And then what did you change it to?
It was more around how we serve customers, to be honest. I mean, the menu itself hasn't, parts of it are still there 12 years on. We realised that grab and go offer was really a big part that we could move forward, but then our store wasn't designed to allow for that. So we had some modifying.
How soon after opening did you modify it?
It was a couple of years, but we could identify what was wrong and then how we could repackage, repurpose things. How we served people, you can have a good product or a good service without everything being in that restaurant mindset.
I remember you were behind the counter every day.
Oh yeah, I actually used to wash dishes because I didn't want the regulars to associate the business as being mine. So I wanted my manager or my staff to take ownership so that if I wasn't there, the experience wasn't seen as being less because of my absence.
That's clever.
Make sense?
Yeah. That's interesting. So 12 years later, you have what, 4 stores?
6 stores.
6 stores, sorry, 6 stores. Plus Dame, so effectively 7 retail businesses. 12 years later, you have 5 Earls.
Is it 6 Earls plus the airport? I lose count sometimes.
Is 6 including the airport?
Yep, and then a catering business as well.
So 12 years on, you have 6 Earl venues, retail stores, catering business, plus Dame, and you're also in the airport.
Correct.
Is that exactly how you planned it?
Probably not, to be honest with you. We'd sort of had grand plans to open 20, 30 stores. We've been down the franchise path as well. We've had that discussion. We pulled back. I didn't feel right at the time.
When was that?
That was actually just before the Royal Commission into franchising.
Right, good
It
timing.
wasn't a great time.
No.
So look, that may or may not be a conversation for the future. The airport was sort of the holy grail for me personally. That kind of felt like we had a compelling enough story to be trusted in that kind of environment.
Like you made it.
And that's cool, yeah. But I think it'll be careful steps from here on in. You know, ironically enough, we were probably actually more profitable. We just had 3 Earls. You know, sometimes you get bigger, but it doesn't actually give you any more apart from more headaches and more phone calls. So the scale that we got to probably got the airport over the line because we've proven that we could operate at a scale. But not all of those stores, to be honest, were great decisions in hindsight. Hindsight's wonderful.
Sure. Just as it comes to the wrong time.
That's right.
Talking about stores, when you look at retail stores, what are the top 3 features you look for when assessing the location?
I think being the big lesson I'm learning constantly is that being in an established centre is worth its weight in gold. You know, greenfields are very difficult because, especially with what we do, we're trying to change people's buying habits. So come to us rather than go to X, Y, and Z. People are really loyal, I think, for their morning coffee, for their lunch, but you have to give them a compelling reason to change. So I think, being part of an established centre where there's already people around, there's trade, that's really important. Obviously, you know, working with landlords that you've worked with before, they understand you, you understand them, is always a really positive thing. And then I guess we need critical mass. So, you know, we can't trade well in an environment where there's not a massive peak.
How many people is critical mass to you?
Because we're making products in our kitchens each day, you know, we just need a environment where that product can turn over.
You can't sell it tomorrow.
We don't hold things as a rule for the next day, you know, so we just need a volume of people.
Right. And in a corporate environment, or you also branch out into neighborhood supermarkets and shopping centers?
We've had a go at that. Ultimately, we've found our model works best when we are in a corporate or a high volume retail environment. Okay. Cool. I think wholesale or that type of arrangement for us has always proven difficult because you're then becoming a logistics company, or you're becoming you're getting away from what we actually do well,
which is customer interface.
That's right.
Can we look at it? When looking at property, what do you expect the landlord or real estate agent to bring to you? How do you want it? And what influence they have on your decision making?
Look, it's interesting because I still think I'm learning that. You know, I still feel like, you know, you still look back and think, I shouldn't have done that, I should have done that, or you're making mistakes. It's interesting. We've gone down the path of using consultants for this as well, and to try and think that they might provide some insight, but ultimately, you know, I know my business better than anybody else. So I think I've got to back myself that I know what's going to work and what's not. I think there just needs to be a really honest conversation, because where we've worked really well is where we're part of really great precincts and part of environments where, you know, you're offering a customer lots of really, really solid options. I'll give you an example. When Patricia, when they opened, my first instinct was, oh man, no, that's going to take away some of my business. On the contrary, it brought people out. So people get a coffee from him, they come and get a granola from me, and you built this sort of ecosystem. It was great.
I see people sitting on those milk crates with an umbrella in the rain.
I know. Yeah. It's great. It didn't take anything away from me. That added to my business.
Yeah.
Likewise, being here at Collins Place, you know, we were one of the first in terms of a renewal process, but the more people that went in that you thought they're potentially a competitor, it actually just brought more people into the centre. Sure. Like that's what I want. I want to be part of a really compelling offer, not to try and be waving the flag by myself, because that's, at the end of the day, it's a coffee and a sandwich, right?
Right. We're in Dame at the front of Collins Place. You opened this 15 months ago. I read an article in Broadsheet that you're voted the most beautiful cafe in Melbourne. Was that what you're going for? And it is magnificent, and you deserve every award you're about to get.
It's a special site.
Yeah.
It's a very prominent part of Melbourne. It's funny because when, you know what I mean, like, it might as well be us. We'll find a way. And it's, I mean, we love the centre. We love the centre town. And we knew there was a lot of potential, not just to have a great cafe, but a business that could operate from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. That's always been what we've worked to with Burl as well, is trying to find a vehicle that you can drive for as long as you can, because everything else remains the same. Now I look at some businesses and think, geez, you have to crank an awful lot between 11 and 2.
Yeah.
You know, whereas we go from 7 till 4. You
can weather a lot of storms. Challenges. Sorry, what was more courageous, opening your first store in 2009 or releasing this during lockdown?
Courageous for different reasons. Earl number 1 was just naivety and stupidity. We just jumped in.
But it worked out.
What could go wrong? All right. Dame felt like if we did it was always going to be a busy environment because we knew the capacity of the area. I mean, there's such a big pool of people that know Collins Place.
Yeah.
Right. Different challenges.
Yeah. Different businesses too.
Different business.
Amazing. Advice to anyone who's wanting to follow the dream to do their own thing, but doesn't have the, I guess, courage to do it.
Well, you only live once.
Yeah.
But you know, you just walk around town to see how many businesses don't make it. Right. You got to be an expert. You've got to have a really clear idea about what you want to do and make sure that your numbers are stacking up. But for us, like, we've always tried to really focus on the service aspect because that's how people remember you. You know, like a chicken sandwich is a chicken sandwich, right? But some of our best performing stores have been where we've had a really, really amazing culture from our staff, and we've offered a service that's probably over-delivered. And then from there, I tell the guys it's sort of like water cooler talk, right? You can have a really crappy location in the bottom around a corner that people don't necessarily know, but in this kind of corporate environment, when people talk, all of a sudden you've got that they tell 20, they tell 20, they tell 20. But if it's not right, the same thing happens too. So double-edged sword, but yeah, compete on service. I think you'll go a long way.